Thanks, Brenda, for your comments. Thanks, Mary Sue, for being here. That's going to lead us into our next section, which is IDHS Supportive Housing Program Deliverables. What that is to clearly outline your program, clearly outline what you're doing and how to document the things that you're doing so it shows your funder exactly what's going on. Documentation is so important. It's important for a number of reasons, but we want to highlight and stress the importance that documentation plays as service deliverables for your program. How are your funders supposed to know what you're going to do if it's not documented in the files? How do they know what you did? How do they know what you and the client accomplished if it's not documented in the files? On the slide, we have a few of the program deliverables. Basically, providing case management, counseling, and advocacy service within 5 days of the program. After a client becomes enrolled in your program, once the intake is done, whatever your agency's process is for saying, okay, now that this client is ours, they're housed with us, they're in our program, those individual services should be happening within 5 days. A service plan should be developed within the first week of the program. After meeting with the client, after providing some case management, some counseling, maybe some type of assessment, then you're working with the client to develop a service plan. And all of these things should be done within the first week. Case management, counseling, advocacy services within the first 5 days, and that service plan developed within the end of the week. Service plans must include monthly outcomes and ongoing goals, which we call maybe action steps, or big picture goals, or small picture goals, or small goals and ongoing goals. So those should be in the service plans. What is it going to take to get to the final outcome of what it is that person wants to accomplish? And again, like I said, once your client or once your participant is enrolled in your program, whether that's the intake process and then they get that assessment, those should be also in the file, documented. When the client came in, what the particular issues are, all of those things should be in part of that intake, and then the assessments. What's the client's issues? What's going on with that individual, so that you know how to direct the service plan, so you know how to direct the services, the counseling, the advocacy that that client may need. To meet these deliverables, the client's file should be dated. Everything that you do with that client, all documentation should be dated to make sure that you've documented this is what was going on and this is the day it happened. Making sure that everything is clear, that you know on so-and-so day we provided transportation, on so-and-so day we provided a medical referral. Again, document everything that you do with that client so that you can make sure somebody, if you are not there, can step in and take over that situation. Again, without knowing what's been going on, they won't know what to accomplish with that client. Again, documentation, dating everything is extremely important when you have a certain time frame to meet certain deliverables. Again, providing that case management service within the first 5 days of that client being accepted into your various programs. Getting that intake, getting that assessment done so that you can get that service plan together by the end of that first week, knowing what you as the case manager are going to work on and what that person, the client, is going to work on for themselves. Funders often want to come out what we call an audit, what they call a monitoring site visit. What that is when the site visit, when your funder comes out and says, okay, tell me what's going on in your program. What have you been accomplishing with this person? How do we know this is that person? What they want to see is a photo ID to know Joe Smith. Okay, this is Joe Smith. I see an address. I see an ID with this person's name on it. Demographic data. Who is this person? Age, race, sex, those type of things. So again, I know, hey, this matches up with the person you say you've been served. Medical status. What's the need for this client? What's going on with him? And a release of information. Just in case, as we know, working in this field, we have difficult times working with our population, so we may need that release to try to track that client down, maybe through a family member, trying to get that client in the service. Maybe it's a release for the doctor to assist them with setting up various mental health or medical appointments. So again, making sure that you have the proper documentation outlined in the chart so that you can assist that client as best you can. The site visit, again, as I said, a site visitor or auditor will come out to audit what's been going on to find out what you've been doing with that client. They want to make sure that your chart is in order so that it clearly outlines, again, what you've been doing and how you've been assisting that client to show what they've been paying for. That's what your agency and you as the case manager have been providing. You don't want to run around at the last minute, as many of us have done, trying to get picture ID, trying to get release the information, trying to get updated medical status, when these are things that should be done in the initial stages, those first weeks of housing the client, to make sure that that file is also in order. Because you can be providing the service, but as Brenda said earlier, if it isn't documented, it didn't happen. So you want to make sure you've got everything lined up so that when they come out, all of that stress and anxiety that we've all felt before can settle down, and you're really being prepared by having all the documentation set up early on in the process. The initial documentation that should be in everybody's file is this slide right here. So make sure that you have these things outlined early on in the process, whether it's right after that intake process, right after assessments are done, right after you've gotten that service plan lined up. Make sure that you've got this set of paperwork in line so that it's not, you make for a smoother transition, documenting everything that you need. And lastly, make sure that you have a release of information. So many times we work with clients and we overlook this piece of paper, but it's so important that you make sure you have that so that anyone you need to contact to assist your client with their various services, you can get that done.